Yeah. All right, well, we'll get started back. It's fun celebrating Cheryl and getting to see Chris's new baby. So that was a special treat. So I'd like to recognize Chairman Cox for the Retention and Recruitment Committee.
Donald Hosse, please. Somebody go retrieve Mr. Hosse. Kennel up. All right. All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank y'all for this opportunity. I'm Donald Hosse, been with the agency, I guess, on my 26th year. Do a lot of outreach education, do the Outdoor Woman program, a lot of stuff with wounded soldiers. Also, youth outreach, Delta Waterfowl National Chapter, John Wagster, along with David and some of the other guys have always been a huge supporter. Also, can't say enough about Ron Crabtree, another great organization. He's with Music City Quail Forever. Anytime we need anything for those guys, they've always been happy to help. And I think we've had some Gold Star participants at some of our outreach events over the past, and it's truly very humbling and honor and experience to do something for these kids. And we actually, our Trapper Workshop at Buffalo Ridge had 6 Gold Star recipients that camped out that weekend for our Trapper Workshop down at Buffalo Ridge. But anyway, to give you a little history on Buffalo Ridge, we've been doing outreach programs through a private individual for almost 20 years on this piece of property. It's a little under 2,000 acres. It's west of here, about an hour. You go through I-40 west, get off at exit 143, the Loretta Lynn exit, and you're only about 5 minutes from the venue. It's extremely easy to find. You got a few miles of the Buffalo River runs through it. Also, there's half a dozen hotels, 5 minutes from the venue, and you also have, you know, probably half a dozen places, including the Log Cabin Restaurant, which is phenomenal places to eat. But due to the generosity of Tom Beasley, we were able to acquire this property about 2 years ago. And instead of me telling you all about the wonderful things, I'm fixing to show you a great video that we put together. And then after that, kind of follow up with what we've accomplished this past year.
Buffalo Ridge Refuge is operated by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. It's a unique outreach and education facility totaling over 1,800 acres, incorporating a variety of habitats, including a few miles of the Buffalo River. It's unlike any other agency-owned property, dedicated to creating opportunities to introduce people to the outdoors. For more than 18 years, while still privately owned by Tom and Wendy Beasley, thousands of young hunters, outdoor women, and wounded soldiers have been able to experience life-changing hunts, fulfilling the vision of its gracious owners. In 2016, due to a very generous donation from the Beasley family, along with wildlife restoration funds, the property was acquired by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency to continue and expand upon the original vision. Mr. Beasley also helped secure funding from the governor's office, along with matching Pittman-Robertson funds, to make improvements to the infrastructure and greatly expand the refuge's outreach potential. With this funding, existing structures, which included a log home and a very large barn, have been updated. The barn now houses an office, a bunkhouse with lodging for 25, and a hunter education classroom that can accommodate well over 100 students. A commercial kitchen is also planned. Private individuals have donated a wide variety of building materials, and volunteers have given hundreds of hours to help finish this facility. Funding has also been used to help purchase equipment to help manage the property to its fullest potential. Biologists and foresters are working on a master plan to manage a variety of habitats with improved hunter success as one of the main goals. At this point, there are over 10 miles of roads, 40-plus ladder stands, and 3 wheelchair-accessible shooting houses, along with a tremendous deer herd. Through the agency's outreach efforts, we have helped participants harvest well over 100 deer in a single season. We offer young sportsman deer hunts for youth who have completed hunter education, but have never harvested a deer before. Through the Becoming an Outdoors Woman program, we offer a Beyond BOW muzzleloader workshop that has become so popular that we now give 2 weeks priority to first-time participants. We also offer a Wounded Soldiers Deer Hunt to give back to those individuals who have done so much for us by serving their country.
When we get together, we're just normal people having fun, you know, and it just keeps us going.
The improvements have allowed for the expansion of hunter ed classes, Wounded Soldiers dove hunts, youth squirrel hunts, trapper training workshops, Wounded Soldiers bass tournaments.
I don't think there's anybody who wants to spend your time. I feel like we're changing some lives and we're pulling people back.
All right, there's the big one.
Fish, this is your final breakfast.
All right, let's go.
Not only, are we doing something for the soldiers, but we're bringing their wives and kids, and kids fishing rodeo, and a lot of them got trophies. They all got fishing rods.
Let's see you kisses.
But I can't say enough. It's an honor to be a part of something like this event.
Buffalo River cleanups and more.
We bring the younger generation, get them outside, let them experience nature. Even pull over a shoal, pick up a little trash, and let the kids throw rocks in the water and find crawfish.
The second phase of Buffalo Ridge Refuge includes the construction of a variety of shooting ranges, a dedicated hunter education facility, and additional lodging.
I truly think there's no other property in the state that really compares. There's so many opportunities out there at Buffalo Ridge Refuge to get people involved in the outdoors and the outdoor experience. We're looking at utilizing new techniques in wildlife management, from forestry management to wetland management to upland habitat management. We're currently working hand in hand with the University of Tennessee and Tennessee Tech and UT Martin, talking about the latest science that's out there on a multitude of species and their habitats, and bringing that data and information to Buffalo Ridge and putting it on the ground, which in turn we hope will provide each hunter that comes to Buffalo Ridge the best opportunity to succeed, hook them on hunting and fishing, and maybe they'll get somebody else involved too.
I want to say thank you to everyone that has ever done an event like this or helped out an event like this, volunteered, or even the veterans that decide to say, you know what, that was amazing, I'd like to pay it forward. Because that's where I'm at. Someone did it for me and helped me out of probably one of the worst periods of my life. And if I can do that to just one more person, I think that I have a purpose.
It's unlike anything that I know that our agency has dedicated to education and outreach. And as many people's lives over the last 20 years as I've seen influence, it's an awesome, awesome place. And it's only getting better, through the generosity of Mr. Beasley and the gracious money the governor's office gave us, along with the match from Pittman Robertson. We've been able to make a lot of upgrades even from this video shot. And also, you got a packet in there. It kind of shows you what all this past year that we've been doing at Buffalo Ridge. And as you can see, from the dove hunts to a lot of in-house training too. Wildlife divisions utilize the property. Also, our fisheries divisions utilize the property. Law enforcement's done a great bit of training. We have our different hunts every year. In the past, we typically, when Mr. Beasley owned the property, we limited, we didn't want to overwhelm them with what we were doing, but we built the infrastructure, and we'd have our youth-only deer hunts, which, for instance, we took 35 kids that were hunter ed certified but had never harvested a deer before, and we advertised that through the agency's website and also through press releases, and we get hundreds and hundreds of applications. Made for a great workshop. And then also I do the outdoor woman program. So many women get into the BOW workshop, can't say enough about it, but they want to go further. So the muzzleloader hunt's been a blast. They pay a couple of $100 to go deer hunting out there. We get a lot of ladies their very first deer on that hunt. Of course, then the wounded soldiers, which is very close to my heart and an honor to be a part of. But that's typically what we did. But now that it's ours, we've kind of been blowing it out of the water on what we're doing. Every month we're having multiple events, it seems like. I think Clarence was here earlier, a few months ago, talking about our trapper workshop we had down there. You know, we had 182 registered. We had then tornadic activity, so we thought we may get 100 people, but we're going to shoot for 200. Well, 400 showed up to this thing. And ended up certifying 328 people that one weekend down there. So, and the youth squirrel hunt, you know, and all kinds of different things. And like I said, you know, our new officers just left there yesterday. They did their EVOC training. We're one exit away from Kentucky Lake, Tennessee River, Cuba Land and Marina. We've got a great rapport of the owners with them, so they let us use that place. Also working with 4-H, putting in food plots, trying to do as much education and outreach as we possibly can. We certainly want to get the other alphabet agencies involved with it if they want to partner with us. And another neat thing too, the governor's office, the Tennessee H2O initiative, the first stop they're going to make is at Buffalo Ridge on June the 12th to do some water sampling. So another neat thing that we've got going on. But in addition to the hunts and the outreach and education, we also got 18 plus 100 acres. We've got a few hundred, well, a little over 200 acres that sharecroppers use that we put out on a 5-year agreement. One of Mr. Beasley's visions for the place was to have wildlife and agriculture work in unison. So I think that's a pretty good thing to keep. And right now we row crop about 200 acres. They help do some improvements to the WMA. They put a 10-acre Clearford sunflower field in for our wounded soldier dove hunt last year, in which it was a tremendous dove hunt. We're actually each Saturday, the first segment, going to have either, well, the first 2 weekends will probably be for soldiers, and then we may do a women's dove hunt the third weekend, or a youth dove hunt. But a lot of it's big timber management. So we've already had our foresters have come out to Buffalo Ridge. We're looking at probably cutting about 200 acres. This is our first phase with it. We want to put in some savanna types. It's a lot of mature forest. We got about 200 open acres of roads and native grass fields, but there's really not the food that needs to be in there like it should. So we're looking at trying to just a bunch of different ecosystems, very diversity. We've even in some of the bottomlands got some places pinpointed, want to put in some waterfowl impoundments that are easily accessed to the road where you could have outdoor classroom settings and things such as that. But, so that kind of goes. And another thing too, got to know Khaki pretty well, and actually knew the Maddox when I was a field officer back in the day. But working with Khaki and them at the Maddox Foundation with toys, they've been to Outdoor Woman, Khaki has, and some of the board members, and they've also been to Buffalo Ridge and putting in a proposal, which fairly confident we're probably going to get it, in which we're going to make improvements and working with universities and also our agency, Wildlife Division, on trying to manipulate the property, not so much for timber harvest, but for more hunter success rate. It's unbelievable the deer herd that's on this piece of property. And to introduce new hunters, for instance, like I said, we've harvested over 100 deer in one season alone on this property, only on 3 hunts. It's unbelievable. And I'm pretty excited about this, you know, working at with the Maddox Foundation and have a way that we can kind of monitor hunter success rate. It's primarily new hunter success rate. So then phase 2. Thing we're looking at now, we've overhauled the barn, we overhauled the house. We got a classroom from the trapper workshop that we're pretty confident can seat 200 people now. And now we're moving across the river. Going to be doing a lot of stuff with our new officer training over there. We're looking at building some ranges hopefully in the near future. We got some great places to build some trap and skeet fields, pistol pits. Like to get the local kids in SCTP, and also if there's any of the Steel Challenge pistol teams that would like to, participate, get them involved. There's also some places where we could put a 1,000-yard range at Buffalo Ridge, and the list goes on and on. And I would ultimately, we would love to have where we could build a hunter education center. It's right off Highway 13, easy access to this location, a big flat. You got a great place we could build about a 5 to 7 acre lake, have some community fishing opportunities. Another thing too, you see that Buffalo River runs right through the middle of the property, and the next closest boat ramp's 30 miles away for the public. So a lot of options with Buffalo Ridge. It's a great place, and I would love for y'all to come out anytime you'd like to see the place. If you're out that way, certainly give me a call and give you the grand tour. Any questions?
Donald, I'd just like to, man, what a place. Yeah. It's unreal, and not only this, but you do a heck of a job with Wounded Warrior and every part of outreach. Just hats off to you. But just to put you on notice, I feel that there'll be a commission meeting there. I just feel that coming. So you need to put them on notice. Yeah. That would probably going to happen in the near future. So.
Yeah,
just tell us when the fish are biting. That'd probably be the
just let me
best
know
money.
We can make it happen.
Or deer hunting, or turkey hunting, or whatever.
It's got it all. It really does.
It does, but I like that it's a special. It's truly a special place for some special people, and you guys are really working with the groups. We need to influence these kids and women and others to hunt, fish, be involved in the outdoors, and that's truly what you guys are doing, and it's priceless.
Exactly right.
A lot of pride in it.
Commissioner Swan.
Don, my wife and my sister-in-law are coming to Bow.
I've seen their application.
Give them a hard time. Make sure that they toe the line.
Okay, I've got your permission.
Any other questions or comments?
I didn't know if you put the name together or not.
Yeah. Donald, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank
Great job. Appreciate it. Very quickly, just a little. Oh, I'm sorry. Director Carter.
I just wanted to mention that all across the state on wildlife management areas, our personnel jump in and do things. They just take it on themselves and do it, as opposed to trying to contract things out and all those different things. This is a very unique area, and it's wildlife management area and an outreach center. And Don talked about all the things that needed to be done. When it came to redoing that house that was on the property, they didn't contract out any of that. Freddie Couch and Don picked up the hammers and the saws and the nails, and a bunch of other volunteers, some other people inside the agency went there and spent weekend after weekend, and they got the thing up to where it is now. And they didn't buy a lot of the stuff. They talked to a bunch of people. They're really good schmoozers. They got the cabinets donated. They got the countertops donated. Then when they needed the big walk-in freezers for the kitchen area, they got those donated, and they put them in themselves. I just wanted to tell you that's how much this place means to them, and it's indicative of what goes on all across the state in the WMAs. But they have such a small staff to work with there that it's been amazing what they've been able to do, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Great.
And that Director Carter made a huge point. Our sponsors, and more than anything, our volunteers. It's unbelievable with these people. A lot of them are hunter instructors, but on any event, there's thousands of hours that people have put into Buffalo Ridge this year alone. And I can't say if there's no way possible that people can get this stuff without our volunteers. Probably 80 to 90% of every one of our people at our events are hunter instructors. Great thing to have.
Thank you, Donald. Very quickly, for the benefit of the rest of the commission, the Retention Recruitment Committee met after last month's meeting and had a discussion with James's gentleman, Tony, and our marketing group. But I'm going to let James kind of explain where we are for the rest of the commission, just to bring you really quickly up to date.
Thanks, Bill. Just an update. First of all, let me comment. You guys are cool. That's such awesome stuff. And I think that these kind of stories and these kind of situations is what we need to, as far as our PR and marketing, and what people need to hear. We're not only hunters and fishermen, but we also do some great work like that. So we met our last meeting, and what we're trying to do briefly is we're trying to, with Tony Conway, who is one of our most successful agents, talent agents in Nashville, and he has volunteered his time and his efforts to help us with a program or a process that we're going to go through with our marketing people, and we're going to have our Nashville or our entertainment artists doing some of our PSAs or some of our advertising and marketing. And so what we're doing right now with Bill is we're in the process of naming those artists. We feel like we have a really great list of major entertainers that will volunteer their time for us, and with our marketing people do some advertising and some PSAs and some public announcements, and hopefully we get to go a little bit further and get their talents to get a little bit further in with what we want them to do as far as what the TWRA is looking at. So next month at our May meeting, we should be able to give you an update on that, and we'll be a little bit more specific about what we're doing. But it's coming along really well, and we've got some really great reaction from some of our major artists, and I'm looking forward to reporting to you guys as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, give you a timeline, and get this thing going.
Thank you, James.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's all we've got.
Thank you, Chairman Cox and Commissioner Stroud, and thank you guys so much. That's a very exciting program, and James being the having the most #1 records of any producer in any genre, I think he'll be able to pull this off. So thank you. I'd like to recognize Chairman Swan for the Audit Committee.
I'd like to recognize Rick Ferris for his last official task as a TWRA employee. Better make it good, Rick.
All right, thank you, Chairman. And Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to come and address you today. And just as a brief presentation, I have no slides, but I did want to just let you know that the Human Rights Commission every year reviews each agency's Title VI program, and they have conducted the most recent review of TWRA's program, and I'm happy to say there were no findings in that audit, and so no slideshow. And with that, I would say that concludes my report. And but while I'm here, and I do have the microphone, I also wanted to say, while Director Carter did introduce you to your new HR chief, Randy Tarpey, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. I've known her for quite a while, and I have no doubt that she will do, I would say as well, but I know she'll do better than I did. And she is very, very skilled in HR, learning and development, all aspects. She has been with the state for 20 years. She has experience in various parts of the state government, including the Central Office for Human Resources, and she has also worked with the Edison folk, who you may or may not have heard of. But she was one of the folks they early hired on there to spearhead the efforts to roll that out and handle problems and issues. She's also just come to us from the Board of Paroles, so she's familiar with working with a Board of Commissioners and has had a lot of experience with a law enforcement agency. So I just wanted to say, while others may be happy she's here, I'm really happy she's here. And with that, I would just say thank you for your time. Randy,
any questions from the commission or the committee, from the public? That concludes our audit report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Swan. Yeah, the best audit report is no report at all, so that's wonderful. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Sanders of the Budget Committee.
Thank you. I want to call to the podium Colonel Darren Ryder.
Thank you, Commissioner. Not to belabor the point about Buffalo Ridge, and I'll get to this, but from a law enforcement perspective, Don did mention the ability that we've had to use that facility for some law enforcement training. And actually this week he mentioned we had our new recruits that we hired last year go through the EVOC training, which is Emergency Vessel Operation Course. And to put it in perspective, social media can be a bad thing at times. So they sent me a picture of our guys in training, and I had a problem with that because they looked way too comfortable. And so I say that, so we compared them. We did a little straw survey with them, said, well, do you want to go back to Fire and Codes Academy to do your training? They said, absolutely not. So we do appreciate the ability to use that facility for our law enforcement training. We're excited to have kind of a place that we own and can operate and get our best training that we can provide to these new recruits. So we're looking forward, like Don said, in phase 2 to help develop the infrastructure and amenities that we need to get the best law enforcement training we can. And then, Ms. Randy, I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm glad to see Rick go now. He's tired of seeing me. I'm sorry. Back to why I'm here. Yesterday I presented a request for a budget expansion for $168,800, and these monies will be earmarked to purchase and procure 8 walk-in freezers, that 1 freezer per each law enforcement district, to facilitate the new change in the CWD importation rule that we did a couple months back. So, and most important thing here is these monies are eligible for a 75% federal reimbursement through the Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Great. Thank you, Colonel Ryder. Now, due to a housekeeping error, the chairman yesterday forgot to actually vote. So we are actually going to go into committee for just a moment, and I will take a motion from the committee to approve this.
Okay, motion for approval.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor from the committee? Aye. Thank you. Now we'll come out of committee, and the Budget Committee recommends passage of this.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders. Take to have a motion and a second to approve. Is that correct? Who was that from? Commissioner Cox. Okay. So any discussion amongst the commission? Any discussion from the public? Okay. All in favor of the budget expansion for the 4 freezers, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Budget expansion passes.
All right, I'd like to call Ken Tarkington to the podium, please.
Oh, I said 4 freezers.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I just realized that. For 8 freezers, yeah, yeah. So do we need to say that again? Did I say that before or after the vote? After, okay. For 8 then, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm reporting, and there should be I'm reporting through the month of February, and there should be a 3-page, it could be a front and back, or it could be on your iPads, either one, report, beginning with the boating fund. At the top of the first page, revenues through the month of February are approximately 4% above the projection, and the expenses posted through the month of February are approximately 45% of the allotment for the year. In the middle of the page, I have the Wildlife Operating Fund, and we're close to 9% above the actual projection for the year, while spending approximately 50% of the annual allotment. At the bottom of the page, the 2 endowments, the Watchable Wildlife Fund has a balance of $6.5 million with available $1,500 to transfer for those programs. And the Lifetime Endowment has $49,866,000. And as usual, the bottom, very bottom of the page details the annual value of sportsman licenses that would or could have been purchased by the Lifetime license holders through last year. At the top of the second page, the Wetlands Acquisition Fund has approximately $10.4 million balance. We've zeroed the maintenance fund or maintenance account out as we usually do. And the compensation or in lieu of tax fund for those wetlands properties has $867,000 balance. The third page, last page, probably kind of small print, but this is through the month of March, March 31st, and there's approximately, for the month, a 0.5% increase in the investment. Since the inception, we've collected or have earned in that investment on the 4 accounts 1.51%. Went through kind of quick. I have 60 slides if you'd like to see them. Any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders. I'd like to recognize Chairman Stroud for the Government Relations Committee.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Chris Richardson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. I am happy to report that the 110th General Assembly has concluded their business for the year and adjourned sine die at about 11 p.m. Wednesday evening. So they are done, gone for the year, and I can report that we as an agency and as a commission had a successful legislative session. It's appropriate that my wife is here today because she can correct me when we leave out of all the information I give you that's wrong. And she's also intimately familiar with all the issues that we deal with because I have no better colleague or person to give me advice or strategy on how to do things in the General Assembly than Anna. She's been doing it longer than I have and is certainly better at it than I am. But as I've reported to you already, the Commission, this year we successfully passed our sunset legislation, which reauthorizes the Commission for another 4 years, which was the biggest priority that we had for the session. We also successfully completed and passed our budget as proposed through the budgetary process. And then we had a few pieces of legislation of note that I'll tell you about that are going to create some work for this Commission. In at least 2 circumstances, the General Assembly has given you all more authority. In one circumstance, we now have authority to promulgate rules and regulations relative to tracking down or wounded white-tailed deer with dogs, which is to kind of correct what was a technical problem in the law, that the law prohibited the hunting of white-tailed deer with dogs in any form. And what this bill will do is allow you all to craft some regulations that will allow dogs to be used as a tool to track wounded or down game. So that probably needs to start immediately if we're going to have things in place by this next hunting season. We also got some authority for this Commission to help try to start addressing some of the conflicts that are going on our rivers and waterways. That bill was passed right at the end of session, and we're still waiting on some signatures and other things, but it will give the Commission some more authority to try to address some of those conflict issues between fishermen and recreational paddlers, the access problems that we're facing on some of our rivers. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's a pretty brief explanation. Obviously, with the session just having ended and some things still in flux, I will have a much more detailed written report that I will send to you all that kind of outlines all of the bills that we went through for the session. But those are the highlights, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I would say in closing that next year will be a whole new ball game in the General Assembly in the sense that obviously we have the elections coming in November. We're going to have a new governor. There's also 23 open seats in the House of Representatives, meaning there's 23 seats that the incumbent is not returning. So that's at least 23 new representatives we'll have, and there are at least 4 open Senate seats that the incumbent is not returning. So it will be a much different General Assembly when we get to the 111th. But we're staying proactive in fostering those relationships and working to make sure that we're well positioned when we get to next session. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, good.
Thank you all
Chris,
very much.
Great work, and what a beautiful, beautiful child.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I second that. And Chris, thanks. That's a great report, and I'm especially excited about the river conflict issues. I think we have a tiger by the tail, but at least we're in the fight. So thank you very much. And that.
Happy birthday. I'm the birthday guru, you know.
You have more than anybody else.
And I'm thinking there's another birthday tomorrow.
Think you're right.
Believe it right.
Director Carter's birthday's tomorrow, so
Yeah.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ed. Today's Chris's?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. And Commissioner Woods was yesterday, right? Today. Wow.
Can't believe I share a birthday with Commissioner Woods.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more quick thing that I forgot about. When someone calls the director's office and is put on hold, we get music. I thought it might be a really good opportunity to have some kind of nice-voiced female talk about something going on in the agency, promoting something, license sales, talking about whatever, instead of listening to music while they're on hold. Just a thought.
Do people get put on? I've never been put on. Have you been put on hold? I don't know. Have you been put on hold?
I heard the whole loop, so I know all the songs.
I cannot imagine why they would have put you through that.
We have caller ID.
I'll check and see if he's here, and they all leave.
The Bill Cox hotline.
I know they do. My feelings are definitely hurt now.
All right. Well, we got it done. We covered a lot of ground. That was a good meeting. And Director Carter, any comments from?
Didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Chairman. Just one little announcement before we leave. First to Commissioner Stroud that Commissioner Cox is anti-music. That's just for what it's worth. but Bobby has an announcement he wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Director Carter. Many of you may be familiar with the Moment of Freedom campaign. It was initiated a few years ago. Some of you may not be. It's basically it's geared towards sportsmen with mobility impairments, wheelchair accessible folks. And it was started a few years ago by former Commissioner Harold Cannon. And Harold was passionate about this, and it's extended on. It's still going on, but one of the other people that was very much involved with it was Shane Hall. And Shane was impaired. He was bound to a wheelchair, but he went all over the state, worked with our folks at locating sites and things like that. And so but Shane Hall passed away about a year ago. So we are going to have a dedication of the White's Landing Fishing Pier at Reelfoot Lake on May the 23rd, starting at 10 a.m. to dedicate to Shane Hall. So just want to bring that to your attention. You will all receive something soon, save the date or more information about it, but I just want to bring it to your attention and make it public. So thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Any other comments from the commission? None? Well, again, Cheryl and Raleigh and Rick, we appreciate all you've done, and congratulations. So with that, our next meeting is May 17th and 18th here, and we're adjourned.